They allow you to mark and name things for styling purposes only. With that, I mean that you create these classes only to apply certain styles. They don't really have any other meaning. You can use them in conjunction with JavaScript, as you will see later in the course, but that's about it. And even then, it's often tied to CSS-related logic. So classes are really something strongly connected to CSS, and therefore using a class to style something is rarely wrong. They should be your first pick, because other selectors, like for example tag selectors, often have the disadvantage of giving you less control. It's easy to mess something up just because you style your h1 tag with the tag selector and you accidentally style some other h1 tag on the same page in the same way, even though you didn't want to do that. So only use tag selectors for some generic styles that really should affect all elements of that tag. Class selectors, on the other hand, are always a good choice, and they're the most used selector type therefore. ID selectors can be a decent choice too though. They're only used once per page, or an ID is only used once per page, I should say, and therefore, if you get a certain style that really should just affect one element on your page and never more, using an ID selector definitely is not a bad idea. However, it's important to keep in mind that IDs also got a non-CSS meaning on your page, mostly the thing that you can link to IDs. I'll show this on the demo project in a second. So therefore, using IDs just to apply a style is not really something I can recommend. Use a class instead, even if you only use it once, because the ID introduces some other effects which are not horrible or necessarily bad, but also not optimal maybe. So therefore, use ID selectors if you planned on using an ID anyways, if it semantically makes sense, but don't just add them because you want to add some style. Now let's have a look at what I mean with that linking thing. Back on our page, if we inspect the HTML code, you can see that on both anchor tags, I actually link to an ID. We do this by adding a hashtag and then the name of the ID. The IDs are then used on the sections. And because the sections have a height of 800 pixels, simply just to ensure that we can scroll on the page, I can actually show you what these links will do. If we go back to the page, I can scroll down to the outro section here, but I can also click on outro. And then my browser will jump there, because in the URL, it added outro at the end of the URL. This is one thing that's baked into HTML. It's not related to CSS at all, has nothing to do with it. It's a nice behavior. It allows you to link on a page. It also means that IDs are not just there for styling purposes though. That is what I meant on the previous slide.